He's been the unmistakable voice of the Eagles since 2017, a 22-time Grammy winner, a country music Hall of Famer. That's the Vince Gill the world applauds. But that's only half the story. At 68, Vince did something no one expected. He publicly named the 7 artists he truly despises. Some were his mentors, some his friends. All of them, at one point, turned their backs on him. And when you hear who made the list, it will make you question everything you thought you knew about country music. Garth Brooks, the stadium king who shattered Vince Gill's heart. Let's start with the biggest shocker. Garth Brooks, the man who sold out stadiums, smashed records, and made country music louder than ever. Everyone assumed Vince Gill and Garth were brothers in spirit, 2 legends chasing the same dream. But behind the polished smiles was a tension Nashville whispered about for decades. Vince believed country music was a conversation, not a spectacle. He played with soul, never flash. Then came Garth, turning quiet stages into explosions of smoke and lights. It wasn't envy, it was heartbreak. Vince once confided, "We used to tell stories, now we sell tickets." When Brooks invited him to perform a televised duet in the early 2000s, he politely declined. Later, a sound engineer overheard Vince mutter, "That's not country, that's Vegas." The room went silent. That was the moment everyone realized. It was rejection. Years passed, awards stacked up, their names etched side by side in country history, yet they never met in the middle. Cameras caught Vince clapping without warmth as Garth accepted another trophy. The silence spoke louder than words, and it still does. Shania Twain, the pop queen who rewrote the rules of country. Did you know there's one artist Vince Gill refused to even stand for at an awards show? That artist was Shania Twain, the woman who, in Vince's eyes, nearly destroyed country music. When Come On Over dropped in 1997, Nashville changed overnight. Glitter, dancers, million-dollar videos. Fans called it evolution. Vince called it the day the stories died. He never named her on air, but in a 1999 interview he muttered, "We forgot what genre we're in." To Vince, Shania wasn't just a crossover star. She was the spark that burned the bridge between sincerity and showbiz. He respected her success, but loathed what it represented. "She made country safe for people who don't even like country," he said after a CMA banquet. The tension was silent, but heavy. They were never photographed together, never exchanged compliments, never shared a stage. When Shania received a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2016, Vince's absence was glaring. Asked why he skipped, he simply said, "I don't fit in that show anymore." That sentence cut like a knife. Shania Twain, he never forgave. Billy Ray Cyrus, the man who turned country into a spectacle. Third on Vince Gill's secret list is Billy Ray Cyrus, the man who, in Vince's eyes, stripped country music of its dignity overnight. When Achy Breaky Heart exploded in 1992, America danced. Vince did not. He reportedly turned off the radio saying, "That's not country." Billy Ray showed up with a mullet, tight jeans, and a line dance that made the Grand Ole Opry look like a theme park. To the public, it was fun. To Vince, it was an insult. At a CMA green room that year, he joked, "That song set country back 10 years. Everyone knew he meant it." Vince realized Nashville was changing, and not for him. Labels wanted the next Billy Ray, not the next Vince Gill. That stung. They never spoke or performed together. When they crossed paths backstage in '94, Vince nodded once and walked on. No handshake, no smile, just ice. Years later, when Miley Cyrus reignited pop's link to country, Vince shook his head and said, "They broke it. It's over." Chris Christopherson, the outlaw legend Vince couldn't stomach. Number 4 on Vince's list isn't a shock to Nashville veterans. Chris Christopherson, the poet behind Me and Bobby McGee, was everything Vince couldn't tolerate. To most, Christopherson was a legend. To Vince, he was chaos in denim. Vince loved precision, but Christopherson? Half drunk on stage, forgetting lines, yet still earning standing ovations. It drove Vince insane. He once snapped to a friend, "Since when did sloppy become soulful?" At a CMA rehearsal in the 90s, when Christopherson arrived late and stumbled through soundcheck, Vince reportedly grabbed his jacket and muttered, "I'm not watching another train wreck," then walked out. The crew never forgot it. Vince hosted tribute nights for Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, even Waylon Jennings, but never Christopherson. Years later, when asked why, he smiled and said, "I admire honesty, not sloppiness." The message was clear. Jason Aldean, the modern star Vince refused to endorse. Fifth on Vince's list is Jason Aldean, a name adored by fans under 30. But for Vince, it cuts deep. He doesn't just dislike Aldean's music, he hates what it represents. To him, Aldean turned country into a commercial machine. Ballads replaced by beer, trucks, and girls in cut-off jeans. Vince told Rolling Stone, "There's room for fun in music, but let's not pretend it's country just because there's a pickup truck in the video." When award shows treated Aldean as Nashville's future, Vince felt like a relic. He skipped Aldean's CMA Festival headlining slot in 2013, saying simply, "If that's the future, I'll stay in the past." Behind the scenes, he called Aldean's songs lifestyle advertising, not storytelling. Unlike other veterans, Vince refused to fake enthusiasm. Aldean never publicly responded, but everyone in Nashville knows the chill. Aldean fills arenas, Vince fills the Opry, and between them, a line exists that neither will ever cross. Kanye West, the ego incarnate. Sixth on Vince Gill's list isn't even from Nashville, Kanye West. Vince values humility in music. Kanye embodies ego. When Kanye interrupted Taylor Swift at the 2009 VMAs, Vince muttered, "This is what happens when ego kills art." To Vince, Kanye isn't just a name. He's a symbol of everything wrong with modern fame. Chaos without craft. They've never met, yet the disdain runs deep. Asked about collaborating, Vince said, "Not with someone who needs the stage more than the song." Travis Tritt, the stare that froze Vince Gill. The final spot on Vince's list is personal. Travis Tritt. Their feud didn't start with gossip, it began with a stare. In 1997, at a charity concert, Vince commented, "Some guys play outlaw but can't write a verse." Everyone laughed, except Travis, who locked eyes with Vince backstage in a look that could kill. From that moment, the tension never faded. Vince represented refinement. Travis was wild and unpredictable. Fans begged for a collaboration, but Vince said, "We're not the same kind of honest." Over time, their silence became legendary. They'd pass in hallways at awards shows without a nod or word. Vince stayed classy in interviews, never naming Travis, while Travis shrugged, "I don't need to impress anyone who doesn't get what I do." They never reconciled. The feud still lives, frozen in that unforgettable stare. Now you know the 7 names Vince Gill never forgave. Which one shocked you the most? Comment below, and subscribe so you don't miss the next untold chapter of country music's dark side.